The storm has just started to settle over the cacophonous bickering and celebrations of Monster Hunter World. Earlier today, Capcom released some official English gameplay. I know there have been a few Japanese streams in the past, but today we're going to take a look at this English gameplay demo. The link to this video is in the description. So this takes place in an area known as the Ancient Forest, the same area that we've seen before. The hunter comes in on a small flying creature. It sort of looks like the pet that you could have in Monster Hunter Frontier. It would be cool if you'd be able to summon it or use it in battle later on, like in Frontier, but never mind that, we'll get to that later. We have an NPC that gives us a quick briefing and tells us about Scout Flies, a tool that we'll use to track our target monster. Voice acting certainly isn't bad because everything is voice acted now.
A monster that's been giving the Research Commission a lot of headaches has shown up again.
And kind of fits the kooky nature that Monster Hunter has always had. It makes me wonder if all the NPCs and towns and such will be voiced. Real quick, look at this map. This map is gorgeous. As we know, there are no segmented areas this time around, and the map is basically a maze of tangled undergrowth and forested caverns. It almost looks like they're softly segmented, with caverns leading to wider open areas. Regardless, I love how it looks and how you have to open your map to see it. It really takes a page out of other RPGs, although there is a mini-map in the bottom left corner. Also notice the perforation-like lines along the map. I wonder if we'll only start with a portion of the map in other hunts and we'll have to fill them in later on. So now the NPC tells us a bit about our target and how it leaves a trail of sticky mucus. It sounds kind of gross. I guess this makes sense since we're going to be hunting the Nostradamus. But beyond that, it's really interesting because it makes me curious if other monsters will leave a trail of something or like corpses or what, I don't know. But being that this is a tutorial and obvious gameplay demo, we're told to head into the center of the map. One quick thing that I thought was interesting, there are buttons in the top right of the screen part of the UI. Looks like we could run with either the left thumbstick or R1. Personally, I'm not a fan of pressing down on thumbsticks to run, but whatever. We also have the aim slinger button as L2. This must be the crossbow on our arm. We'll see plenty of that later on. Again, real fast we see that our hunter is using stake and he's still moving. It really slows you down though, and I can't help but miss the whole standing and flexing animation, but this kind of seems like it's necessary due to the open level design. It sort of reminds me of Dark Souls. We jump into this open field with a few apnoth here and there, and of course it looks absolutely beautiful. You can see a giant tree in the center. The camera kind of pans up to it and it's like, oh, look at that, that's a big tree. We see a big footprint of our target, and our scout flies just go crazy, as they should, because that's what they're tracking. And then we see the NPC from earlier talk to us again telepathically. She is labeled as the handler. There is a small UI element on the right here. It looks like if you find enough clues, it will point you in the right direction, judging from this little experience bar and the experience gained. And then the Froggo monster comes out. This is called the Great Jagras. Jagras? I don't know. This part is a little weird for me personally, but there's a lot of stuff happening, so let's break it down one step at a time. The Jagras comes barreling outwards, and we see a little icon up here on the right saying level up. What could this mean? Well, perhaps it will allow us to find out more about the creature. Perhaps in a bestiary or in other hunts we'll be able to spot the trail of the Great Jagras more easily, but for now I imagine that this just means we know where this monster is at on this map. So the Jagras comes charging out, our hunter is clearly in the line of sight, but the creature just completely ignores us and continues eating the apnoth. See, to me, this is cool on the surface, but what this really says is that it's 100% scripted. And honestly, it makes me a little worried about the AI because this isn't the only time that this happens in this demo. After it eats the apnoth, it just kind of walks off and we're sitting here awkwardly crouching, like, hello, I was right here, you obviously saw me. So we just start following it. There's a few item pickups along the way here. We see our hunter pick up an herb and, wait, what? It says potions right there, but we clearly picked up an herb. Maybe it shows us available combinations with the herb. Maybe it automatically crafted a potion from the herb. I'm hoping there is item combining because I really like that mechanic in the other games. So we continue on, we head into this cavern type area and conveniently hide in this bush as the Jagras turns around. Turns out Jagras is a very caring mother because it regurgitates up some food for the little ones that then continue to swarm all over the place. I wonder if all this stuff would be happening in the background in regular hunts or if it's just for the demo and they're showcasing special scripted events. Although maybe that's just the pessimist in me. So while we're sitting in this bush, we see Palico 1 crawl up right behind us. I don't recall seeing him earlier, so that's why I'm bringing it up now. He's just so cute though. Look at that little cat canteen. So we gather some more mucus from our target monster, and the level up icon appears by our target icon thingy on the right hand side. So now the flies have a lock on our monster and they're pointing us in the right direction. But we end up gathering some more things, some more mucus and whatnot, and the scout flies level up again. So now we really have a beat on this creature. We basically know right where it's at. We end up going into a cave, and there is our monster. He's taking a nap. So our hunter heads into the bush to hide, and then he shoots like a seed or something from his little crossbow, his arm-mounted crossbow, towards the monster. It wakes it up, and there is our buddy, the Nostradamus, or as he's officially known, the Anjanath. He can't find us even though he legitimately steps on us, and then we shoot it in the face again. At this point, we've seen enough footprints to know where he is, because he appears on the minimap. We're crawling through the brush when Anjanath finally sees us and gives us a good whack, but it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. We must have pretty decent armor on. Now, I thought this was pretty funny. We have a giant greatsword on our back, we have enough gear and armor and items to conquer the entire map, and then we go ahead and we drop an apple on his head. Like, what is this, Kirby? But apparently the apple was a good idea, because it staggers Anjanath just long enough for us to jump on him and mount. So we switch around from the back of Anjanath to the head, but we eventually get sent flying off as Anjanath slams into a tree. But it's a good thing that we are Batman, because we have our trusty slinger to fly back to him. And luckily that tree that Anjanath ran into was covered in vines, so now he's all wrapped up and stuck. We finally knock it down with a charged slash from its back, which does a whopping 30 damage. Here's some traditional greatsword combat, well, sort of traditional. They've definitely tweaked some things. I don't actually see any charged attacks, which is kind of weird. Makes me think they added more fancy spins and combos rather than the slow charge up hits from a greatsword. Our hunter is getting knocked around, but he's not really taking that much damage. We do get to see some cool combo attacks with the greatsword, but ultimately Anjanath runs off, and our hunter takes off after him. Anjanath eventually breaks open this rock wall, revealing another area with these things called flash flies, which are basically environmental flash bombs that fire off when struck. Unfortunately, our hunter really screws up this opportunity though, because he whiffs several attacks. After eventually landing a couple hits, Anjanath goes enraged and the hunter runs away with Anjanath right behind him. The hunter then paralyzes the monster with his slinger, and then shoots a giant rock formation above the monster, causing Anjanath to be crushed and take a bunch of damage. The hunter looks up and sees a hook bug. You know where this is going, and I bet you can guess, because our hunter friend Spider-Man's up to it, because of course every hunter now has a grappling hook. I'm not sure if this is like a special accessory for the slinger or what, but it seems like your hunter is just decked out in all sorts of crazy gear. I'm wondering if it'll all be unlocked from the start, or if you have to unlock it over time and upgrade it. It's kind of weird though, how if a monster knocks you off of the mount, you could still just use the grappling hook and swing right back on. It doesn't really make any sense to me. So this mount eventually takes off the tail, just as Great Jagras walks in, just in time for Anjanath to run away, of course. Our hunter doesn't even carve the tail though. What a waste. Now I thought this was interesting. The hunter equips a Challenger mantle, which basically paints a target on him. I guess it's sort of like the taunt skill. The hunter lures Anjanath back towards the Jagras, and a very brief fight begins, but it doesn't really last for very long. Seems like the hunter has hardly even hit the Anjanath so far, and it's just using the environment to hurt him. So now we're climbing up even higher, and the climb speed is kind of ridiculously fast, but that's probably because of the grappling hook. That might explain some things. We eventually lure this creature up to a nest, and we've seen this before in previous footage. This Anjanath is just getting beat up, and it's not about to get any better because Wrathy is coming in hot and heavy. Wrathy picks up the Anjanath and slams it onto the ground repeatedly. Anjanath has had enough by this point. Once he finally frees himself from Rathalos, he gets out of there, he limps away. And we finally see a new feature here, the fast travel. The hunter very quickly warps out to a camp despite being in combat what seems like mere seconds before. And honestly, it's kind of weird. Like, did the Wrathy not follow him? The Wrathy obviously seen the hunter, and it sure as hell knows that Anjanath is there. So I don't quite get it, because I've read that it was confirmed that there's no fast travel in combat, but basically that's what just happened, so I don't know. Anyway, back in the camp, the hunter goes into a tent and switches to a bowgun. It doesn't change armor automatically either, so it looks like there's not any separate ranged and melee armor. We do see a brief shot of the skill window on each of these pieces though. Now, I'm not sure if they've overhauled the skills, but it looks like each skill has a level, judging from what I'm seeing right now. The feline also gets some new threads. Our hunter leaves the tent looking very, very different, and he makes his way back to a sleeping Anjanath and launches a special cluster bomb ammo type at it. The Anjanath wakes up in a rage, obviously. The gun gameplay seems a lot like a third-person shooter now. You're able to move and strafe, albeit very slowly. It definitely takes some getting used to, or at least it looks like it'll take some getting used to for Bowgun fans. The Anjanath gets a nice hit in on our hunter, lots of damage for once, and our hunter uses a ghillie mantle to disappear for a few seconds as he makes his escape. So he jumps down this hole and there's a big wasp with a big old jelly sack that just happens to restore health. Convenient, right? So there's some more gameplay of shooting tiny mobs as the Anjanath searches for us. At first I thought this was the reload animation. I was like, what? That was way too fast. But it looks like that's just the, oh no, I don't have any ammo in my gun animation. And here's the machine gun attack that we saw in the initial reveal trailer. It's a special attack, I guess. The hunter just peppers Anjanath with so many bullets. I wonder if it takes up your regular ammo. That would make it an interesting trade-off. The hunter then runs away, yet again, and here's our friend Draggrass, who is apparently such a wimp because he just gets beat up by Anjanath. The hunter fires sticky bombs, which do a ton of damage, and then it's back to the machine gun, which is finally all used up, judging from the meter in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. The hunter then uses wyvern ammo, which does 140 damage, a significant amount, just enough to kill the monster actually. Luckily, our carving animations are still there. So that's the official gameplay of an entire hunt in the Ancient Forest. Now, I'm optimistic that this will be a great addition to the series, and I'm really excited to play it, but it's always good to look at a game with some objective thoughts, I guess. So there are a few things that concern me, but this may just be Capcom trying to sell the new features of the game, so regardless about what I'm about to say, we're just going to have to kind of wait and see. So number one, there are just so many environmental opportunities that it sort of cheapens the hunting and combat aspect for me. There's not a whole lot of actual combat in this video, to be honest. There are a lot of traps for the monster to walk into, though. For example, the rocks crashing down on top of Anjanath, and then the flash bugs as well. Now, those are just a little strange to me, but second, the skill system. One of the staples of Monster Hunter is the skill system, and I love mixing, matching, and completing unique armor sets for the different buffs that it gives. I hope that we'll still be able to do that and not have entire skill effects active from just one piece of armor. But that said, I'm really excited. Monster Hunter World is going to be fabulous. I just know it is, and I'll be sure to cover it as more gameplay and new elements of the game are revealed. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you bop that subscribe button, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace!